Good afternoon. I must say I'm incredibly passionate to be here and to talk about one of my pet topics. And I must tell you today, it is not the fiber rollout and connectivity experience in Germany. It's actually artificial intelligence. And I have three messages. Number one, I believe artificial intelligence will neither lead to the Holy Grail nor to dystopia. Number two, nevertheless, I believe we really need to wake up here in Europe and we need to get our damn act together. And number three, I really believe it comes from embracing a combination of technology and social innovation. So starting with the first point, I believe AI is actually very powerful technology. There's hardly any other one which reflects its creator so much as AI does. And as you know, today's weak AI assesses data, collects data, assesses them, and draws conclusions in a very specific context. And in that context, much better than humans, for example, when it comes to playing against a fantastic chess player or having robots that put together washing machines and cars better than industrial workers. But so far, it does not apply its learnings from that specific context to another one. It does not yet reflect about itself and doesn't decide under uncertainty. But even with that, I think it's very powerful for good and potentially for bad. For good, from my perspective, it's very obvious. For good, when it comes to detecting cancer cells better than a radiologist does, or when it comes to diagnosing rare diseases better than a normal doctor does because of a better pattern recognition. Potentially, for things which I consider at least more critical, when it comes to a project like the Citizen Score in China, right now only a pilot, but when it comes to assessing data of every individual, also, by the way, behavioral data, in order to assess if people can get access to public transportation, to credits, or maybe even to school or university for their kids. So I need to say, I don't consider that consistent with our liberal democracy, and therefore I believe it's so important that we here, the startups, the large companies, shape it in Europe in order to have AI serve humans. Now that is the quest for the wake-up call. Last year, in Europe, we invested in research, public and private, round about 4 to 5 billion euro in AI. As you can see here, it was much more in Asia, around about 10 billion, and around about 19 billion euro in the United States. But beyond research, what I find even more important is that when you look at the commercialization and the rigorous application, I think when you look at the US and China, it's happening in a much more rigorous format. I believe, because it can do so many good things, we cannot, by the way, but we should not stop at what we need, and as I said before, we must shape it. And here I have 5 points, and let me quickly come to the first one. At Deutsche Telekom, we are currently having 50 internal AI-related projects and 25 with partners, big companies and startup companies. We use it mainly for internal processes, like automated fiber planning, like predictive maintenance, or to make our chatbots smarter. Recently, we were actually, and to my knowledge, the first company who announced publicly ethical guidelines on AI. 9 ones, and let me mention 2. One was actually about making sure that we make transparent to our customers what we do with the data. Another one was actually about having clarity what who is in charge for these specific AI systems. Now, I heard some of the debate. What I really want to state is that I believe ethical standards, as environmental standards, can be a source of competitive advantage for the European industry, can be a source of competitive advantage if they are not misinterpreted as small, nitty-gritty regulation on technology, right? And if they are not, so to say, formulated out of a position of weakness. Number two, I believe we need to have much stronger research focus and more public and private investments. Yeah, as a physicist, we always had CERN, yeah, as the place to go for particle physics. And here we have the Alice, what I like a lot, and I think we need to invest more. And actually in Deutsche Telekom, we have a big part of our research focus here in Germany, but also in Israel and in the United States recently also on AI. Number three, and I hope conferences like this can contribute to this. Maybe it's naive from myself, but I strongly believe that the best talent of the world should be attracted to Europe. Why is that? Because if I'm a brilliant data scientist, if I know something about artificial intelligence, I would rather want to work for something which has a purpose, a good purpose, rather than maybe for the Citizen Score project. At least this is my hope on this one. So I would call this as a quest for attracting talent, by the way, also from inside Europe, and this is why I personally believe we need to massively increase the passion for this topic. Last but not least, because I'm somewhat skeptical whether we will solve it only out of the startup companies or the large corporates. It would be great to have here a leading company or leading companies really that deal with industrialized algorithms. And maybe in Europe we need to repeat what we did many years ago with Airbus. But that's a different story. Let me actually quote out of one of my favorite books, which is Dürrenmatt's Die Physiker, the physicist. And he once said, the content of physics concerns the physicists. Its impact is of concern for mankind. And I believe, as much as it is true for physics, it's true for artificial intelligence. And I would actually mention one comment from my husband, who is a medical doctor and digital entrepreneur, and he says, you know, Claudia, remember one thing, the last mile should be human. So, when we enhance ourselves by algorithmic intelligence to do these tasks, the utopia, not the dystopia of that would be that we have all more time to concentrate on the things that matter for humans, which is, from my point of view, empathy, love, and more social intelligence, but I don't want to give now this type of speech. I would just want to make a practical remark at the very end, which actually is, I would hardly invite all the companies who are interested to actually engage in a dialogue with us about ethical guidelines which can be used as a source of competitive advantage and not like the opposite. And for all the startups here, and I listened to a few who have interesting solutions and technology that deal with artificial intelligence, there's a hearty invitation to get into the dialogue with myself and with my team, and maybe there is an avenue to collaboration which we hadn't even figured out. So thank you for your attention.